This week, we are rolling in the deep. We are plunging into the abyss. We are diving into the intensity and the mystery of Scorpio season. Hi all, my name is Haley Comet. Welcome to my cosmic corner of the internet, and welcome to your weekly astrological forecast, Magic Monday. Today we're discussing the astrology from October 21st to October 27th, 2024. But do know that you can find your horoscope for every other single week of astrology as well here on my channel. And beyond just letting you know what it is that you can expect within the astrological weather, here on Magic Monday, I strive to empower you to align with the astrology, to synchronize with the stars, to unite with the universe in order to experience more flow and more alignment within your universe. And this theme of power is so alive when it comes to the week of astrology that you are stepping into. This is because on Tuesday, October 22nd, the sun enters Scorpio, which creates this solar spotlight on all of the secrets that lie beneath, on all of the mysteries of the psyche, on all of the desires that we have repressed. The very nature of Scorpio is to unearth, to discover, to uncover what is not being talked about, what has yet to be realized, what has yet to be brought to light. I mean, the sun is a luminary and it's entering this territory of Scorpio, which is around all that is mysterious and beneath the surface. So things are being brought to light for the purpose of empowering yourself. And before we enter Scorpio season, Libra season has a final farewell for us by way of the Libra sun squaring off with Pluto in Capricorn. Now, Pluto is the planet of power, but it's important to really dial into the nature of Pluto because it's not the sort of power that is just given, it is the power that is earned. And the power that is earned through being the phoenix, the alchemist of your own universe, being able to rebuild from ground up when something has been torn down, being able to alchemize what within your life feels like it's crumbling right now and turn it into your most powerful era and iteration yet. Pluto power asks us to walk through the shadows of our psyche, of our secrets, of our fears in order to step into our most powerful version. Because the thing is, there is a valley, there is a canyon, there is a chasm between you when you are in your comfort zone, when you are playing in the realm of what is familiar to you, when you are staying shallow enough to remain on the surface level, when you are doing things in roles that are safe for the ego. And there is another version that we're being asked to move towards. But the barriers in between us going from the space of existing in this more comfortable, albeit potentially unsatisfying reality and stepping into the unknown, there are many obstacles that await within this canyon, within this valley, within this chasm. And whatever those obstacles look like, whether they are physical fears in your external reality, emotional fears of plunging deep within your inner cosmos, even psychological hindrances around needing to get really real with ourselves and really real with our desires, when it comes to meeting those obstacles and crossing those barriers, it's scary. And that's the very nature of Pluto, is that things can feel like they are crumbling. An old way of doing things is crumbling. When we heed this call around getting out of our comfort zone and marching to new territory, even if we don't know exactly what that looks like, there's almost an energy with the square to Pluto around we turn around to go back to where we were out of fear, right? To the initial comfort zone that we started in, and it crumbled away. Like there is an energy with the square to Pluto, especially with Pluto direct, around we cannot go backwards. And now that you're this far, you have to keep going. And the work never stops, it just gets deeper. And it's acknowledging, even though there's fears and there could be a desire to wanting to cling to what was, it's important to know that your mind is not wired for you to live your most embodied, powerful life. Quite the opposite. Your mind is designed to keep you alive. Your mind is continually looking and scanning for threats in order to ensure your survival, in order to ensure your safety, in order to keep you alive. So it likes familiar familiarity. It likes what is predictable, even if you are recognizing that it is not fulfilling, because it knows, okay, if we stay in our comfort zone, if we stay in what's safe for the ego, if we stay in what we've known before, in the shallow surface level, we know we will be alive. Maybe spiritually and soulfully we feel unfulfilled, but at least physically we're okay. And not to be morbid, but we are entering Scorpio season this week. It's an acknowledgement around a life well lived is not necessarily the life where you play it safe in every single instance. And I want to be so clear, because I'm not saying that all of us are skydiving this week and that we're all moving and we're making these huge life shifts. A lot of shifts could be happening within your own inner cosmos. A lot of transformation can be happening within your own inner cosmos, but it's asking you to really deeply meet yourself, really deeply get to the seed of these fears or these desires, and really be willing to evolve, to transform, even if it feels uncomfortable. The ego likes what is familiar. The mind likes what is predictable. The soul likes evolution. The soul likes growth. We meet more sides of ourselves that way. We unearth more of this experience that way, even if parts of it are scary. Even if parts of it, your mind and your ego is like, let's return to what we've known before. It's like Scorpio energy is alchemist energy. Scorpio energy is phoenix energy. There is a desire to let something crumble, let an old way of being crumble, let an old way of seeing yourself crumble, let an old way of relating with the world, let it crumble. And that in between, when you are walking through this valley or this canyon or this chasm, it will have obstacles. There will be fears that you have to face. There will be dimensions that have been untapped within yourself that you will uncover. But on that journey between bridging those barriers, you also find your power. Pluto is earned power. The power that you have when you allow something to crumble in order to rebuild. The power that you have that you allow yourself to leave the familiar comfort zone and go off on something that is more fulfilling. The power that comes when you know that you can face your fears, whether that is physical obstacles, emotional hindrances, spiritual challenges, psychological roots that have been running in the background within our mind. There's a desire to face those fears in order to evolve, in order to transform. So there is so much to be said about this week's astrology, and we will cover it in depth. It is Scorpio season after all. You know, we got to go deep with it. But before we do, take a step inside my cosmic cafe. My loves, what are you sipping on? Is it coffee? Is it tea? Is it something fall, something pumpkin, something maple? I would love to know. You may be asking where my beverage of choice is. If you watch Magic Monday regularly, you know that I always have a beverage in hand, and my drink is mysteriously absent, you know, very aligned with Scorpio season to have some mysteries here in the cosmic corner, but it's a very valid question. And before I get into where my beverage is this week, I want to firstly remind you all that you are a powerful person. And when it comes to Scorpio season, it's really around diving into the abyss of our power, of our fears, of our desires, of our obsessions. And I would encourage you, especially with Mercury, Scorpio, trine, Saturn, and Pisces, be careful what you wish for. Be mindful what it is that you are directing mental energy towards, and be mindful of the power that you carry. With great power comes great responsibility. The reason I say that, so here is our beverage today. We are not sipping it. It's actually here on the ground. It was a cup of drip coffee with a splash of pumpkin spice creamer within. It was absolutely delightful. I say was because this beverage can no longer be consumed, and I am taking partial responsibility for that. So I was essentially getting ready to film. So I made my coffee. I put it right here on the side table. I lit my candle. I was testing the audio levels on my microphone. I was setting my lighting up. I was getting everything dialed in, ready to film. And as I was dialing in these matters, I noticed that there was a fly in here. And of course, he was buzzing right here in the cosmic corner. I swear, if there's ever a fly in the house, they are just magnetized to the cosmic corner when I'm filming. They just like the vibe that we curate here on Magic Monday. And I don't know what exactly I thought, but I thought something around, I wish that fly would leave me alone. I wish this fly would like get out, because it's so hard to track him down, like whisk him out the window or anything of that nature. So I was annoyed, I was frustrated that the fly was just buzzing all around the cosmic corner as I was trying to set everything up. And I was just wishing that he would not do that. Be careful what you wish for. Right after I put my lip gloss on and sat down to start filming, I look at my coffee. Thank goodness I looked before I sipped, and there he was, just going for a swim in the coffee. So unfortunately, my coffee did lead to his untimely demise. And when I saw that, I felt so bad for whatever thoughts were going through my brain. I was like, I didn't want you to leave the cosmic corner like that. Like, that was not my intention. So I guess just be mindful what it is that you are putting mental energy towards. You are a powerful being. So I did not make another coffee, unfortunately. The whole experience was just like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Fly. I'm so sorry I thought those thoughts, my fault on that. So no coffee, no drink today, and RIP to that Fly. I'm so sorry about your untimely caffeinated demise. One other thing I want to address here in the Cosmic Corner, you may be asking, Haley Comet, what's going on with your shirt? What is going on with your shirt? I thought you were dressing up in costume. My loves, this week, this is my costume. And let me know below if you got it right when you saw it, or if it took some time to figure out what it is that I am. If you're still confused or you're just listening to the audio, I have a picture of Pi on my shirt, and then I have 2 of the letter C on my shirt. So Pisces. I'm dressed up like a Pisces. I know it's punny, I know it's stupid, I could not resist. You know, we gotta love an astrological pun. I'm mercurial, so I love a good pun. But let me know if you got it right away. And punny costume aside, I do wanna say that you may be feeling this week with the sun squaring Pluto and then entering Scorpio, like you're on a precipice of transformation, of evolution, of deeply empowering yourself. And I know a lot of times when it comes to facing our fears that come with that, when it comes to really deeply getting to know ourselves and what is beneath the surface, it can feel like we are on our own, that we are walking this path in solitude. But I do want to let you know that you are never truly alone. You're always walking down this path with spirit. The transformations and the evolutions that are meant for you will be guided by your own intuition. And there's also lots of resources of spiritual support of individuals who can guide and support you as you do this work, as you walk on this path. And my favorite way of connecting with spiritual advisors that support me when I am in the midst of this transformative process is through the sponsor of this week's Magic Monday, Keen. Keen is an online psychic directory that links you to all sorts of talented spiritual advisors who utilize their gifts in order to help you navigate your world. Scorpio season spotlights everything that is unseen, unsaid, that lurks in the shadows. And what's so essential to know about what is in darkness, whether it's within our mind and within our life, is that a lot of times these unconscious arenas can impact a lot of our conscious physical reality. And that's been most certainly the case for me. I've been vocal about what it is that I've been moving through this year, just my healing journey and just the transformation that I've been going through. And during a recent reading that I had on Keen, the spiritual advisor who I connected with, she utilized the modality of tarot, but there's all sorts of modalities on the site. She highlighted something that was such a blind spot for me. I was not aware of this dimension of what was existent within my world, but when she delivered that message, it intuitively clicked and resonated with me to such a deep level that I could not deny it. And it really allowed me to illuminate what was in the dark and set myself free in a certain regard, to really step into my power by not allowing these unconscious hidden dynamics of my own world to impact and hinder my journey. And I always say, you are the most equipped to navigate your life. Your soul, your intuition, and will always be the most accurate guide for what it is that you're moving towards. But it's so helpful, especially when you're at a juncture that feels really big, that feels really transformative, to have those spiritual advisors who you connect with that help guide you on that path, and to pay attention to where you get that gut instinct, that yes, that resonance when an advisor delivers a certain message to you that really resonates and rings through your body as truth. That's always a sensation that I encourage my subscribers to find when they're looking for a new spiritual advisor, a new intuitive on Keen, is really exercise discernment when it comes to the messages that are coming through, and really observe what feels deeply resonant to you, what feels very deeply aligned. And because of the wide directory of intuitives and advisors that are on Keen, you can find someone who is uniquely equipped in order to support you at this season of your life. Whatever this transformation looks like for you, whatever this evolution looks like for you, there is a spiritual advisor on Keen who can utilize their gifts, their modality in order to support and guide you through it, as well as in the timing that aligns with you. You can connect via text or via phone call in order to get those spiritual insights insights in the timing and the modality and delivered through the personality that aligns best for you. So if you're new to Keen, utilize my link, trykeen.com/comet, and you can get your first 5-minute reading for just $1. So thank you so much, Keen, for sponsoring this week's Magic Monday. And without further ado, let's go ahead and take it into Vibe Check of the Week. So welcome to Vibe Check of the Week, which is a segment that we do here in Magic Monday, in which we compare this week's astrological transits and every week's astrological transits to a real life scenario. I'm not saying that this exact situation will play out within your world or someone close to you, although sometimes I get comments that state exactly that, and I'm always shook when I read those. But truly the purpose of Vibe Check is to just get you acquainted with the vibes, the emotions, the themes that may surface within your world this week. It's essentially a way to bring down what's happening with the planets up there to this planet down here by comparing it to a hypothetical situation. So we will say that this week's astrology, you are, to be forthright, spiraling. You are spiraling. And there are things within your big picture reality that feel out of your control, that you feel powerless over. There are things happening within your family. There's things happening within society. There's things happening within your job. You feel like layoffs are looming and you have a lot of fear around that, but you don't really like your job and you don't really resonate with your city. And there's just things within your life where you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. Honestly, I don't know what I'm doing. And while you're experiencing that sensation of powerlessness over these big arenas of your life, the reason you're spiraling is really just the small things within your life that you're feeling powerless and out of control around. You spilt coffee on your desk. Your house is a mess. It's so loud, you cannot hear yourself think. You had a meeting with a really important client and then you get home and you realize that there is deodorant on your blouse. It's like these are all small things, but all built up together in conjunction with just the big picture sense of unease that you have just sends you into a spiral. So right after work, you just crawl in bed and you are just obsessing and ruminating and honestly fearing the worst and really indulging mentally within thoughts around how it's all over for me and I'm the worst and I can't even keep a house clean, I'm useless, or I can't even keep air in my tires because you got a flat tire on the way home, and how am I going to pay for it, and what's happening with my job, and what if this happens and I'm such a loser. It's just creating this snowball effect that's making you cry and obsess and spiral and freak out more and more and more. And you're just feeling like there is this dark cloud above your head. You're just feeling like things are bleak and there's this awareness that things are transforming, but with that change that feels on the horizon, because it feels so unknown, you are projecting the worst case scenario. Layoffs are coming and I'm going to lose my job and then I'm going to have to do A, B, and C. Or the worst case scenario is going to play out within my family. Or what if I move to this new city and I don't know anyone? Like, because it's so unknown, and you've never gone to this next section of your life quite yet, there could be this energy to just project your worst fears on it and to want to cling to this particular chapter or season of your life, even if it's not particularly fulfilling to you. It feels at least more comfortable from whatever that might be. And again, when we are activating the worst case scenario thinking, we can really project doom and gloom, to be quite forthright. So when it comes to this week's astrology, there might be situations in which you are ruminating, obsessing, or just in a little bit more of a blah or a bleak space. We're not able to engage with change in a more healthy or constructive way until we are in a little bit more of a grounded headspace. And that's why spiraling is not too terribly productive, because when we're spiraling, we're engaging in everything that's wrong and we're already feeling so overwhelmed that it's hard to even begin to understand what steps need to be taken in order to move into a more positive direction. It can kind of be the energy around, my house is such a mess and I can't even maintain it and I feel like I need to downsize. But then if I downsize, I have to sell my house and then I have to fix the dishwasher and then I have to get that closet fixed and I have to clean everything. And you're simply adding to that overwhelm, that more negative headspace that you're in, because it feels overwhelming. It feels like this huge thing that's lording over you. So sometimes when you're in a space where you're ruminating or you're engaging in more extreme thinking, you can feel like you need to fix everything right now or solve everything right now or obsess over the worst case scenario and what you're going to do if that were to come up, which, like I said, is not always the most productive way to solve the situation. And so while there may be something in your life that you feel out of control over, it might be something big, it might be something small. You could have an emotional reaction to it. You could cry in a parking lot. You could be doom scrolling. You could bed rot a little bit, just kind of ruminating and obsessing, or just perhaps in a little bit more of a bleak space. And so I'll be forthright. There can be situations that play out within your universe that you feel out of control over. You could feel powerless over something. There could just be this sense of unease, this sense of anxiety around either wanting change, but also fearing it, maybe being pushed into change and not being sure if you're ready for it, or just having the sensation around, I don't know what I'm doing or where I'm going. And that making us feel a little bit more anxious. But the focus of the vibe check is not the spiral itself. It's the moment that you decide to shift your energy into a new direction. So it's basically the moment where after work, everything was just a lot. So you just crawled in bed, you spilled coffee on your desk, you made a mistake at work, you met with a client, then you saw you had deodorant on your blouse, you feel like a loser. You just crawled in bed and you were just obsessing and ruminating. And after you've cried your tears, there's just an energy around, okay, I need to get out of this bed. I need to get out of this bed. This room is a mess and it's not helping me because now it's making me feel overwhelmed about my physical abode. And I think the most productive thing for me to do is to take a walk. So you decide to shift gears and you go for a walk, you get some new stimuli, you get some fresh air, and you listen to an inspiring audiobook, and slowly but surely you begin to come back into a little bit more of a grounded headspace. Because I do want you to be mindful that with Mercury and Scorpio, we can have a tendency to sometimes engage in very extreme thinking where, when you're ruminating, when you're spiraling, you could think things like, I'm such a loser, I'm a failure, everything's the worst for me and it's over for me. And engaging in this very extreme thinking that is not reflective of the truth. And again, allow yourself to feel your feelings if you just need to have that dark, angry cloud over yourself temporarily to get it out of your system. It's not saying that you can't, engage in thoughts like that, but it's acknowledging when they are no longer productive and acknowledging when it's time to shift directions around, I'm not going to fix the big picture problems of my life or the small picture problems of my life by telling myself I'm a loser and that it's all over for me. Like, this is just not nice and it's also not productive. And so the gift of this week's vibe check, and really what I want you to step into this week, is really just striving to ground your thinking down when you do find that it goes to these kind of extremes or even engaging in black or white thinking. And with Mercury trining Saturn, it's just that energy around, okay, what's going to help me get into a more grounded headspace? Maybe for some, that would be going for a walk, like our protagonist in the vibe check. We've got Mars in Cancer sextiling Uranus and Taurus around, my home is adding to my overwhelm of the amount of things that I'm stressed about. So I just need a temporary break. I need to see some new sights. I need to go to the special sacred place in the park that no one ever goes to just look over at the valley and just breathe and just calm myself down and bring myself back into center. Because I know when I'm in that headspace, when I re-enter the home, I will feel a little bit more grounded to start to fix the problem. And again, not overwhelming myself around, I also need to put my house on the market because I don't want to live here any longer and I need to fix all this stuff before I put it on the market. It's just saying, hey, let's just start by putting our clothes away. Let's just start by putting our clothes away. And just doing that particular action leads us to the next particular action. And maybe even with Mercury trine Saturn in Pisces, this could be an energy around getting a plan in place. Don't feel like you need to make all of these changes happen overnight, but there can be an energy where it's like, I don't like this arena of my life, or I'm wanting change here. And with Mercury trine Saturn, it's essentially having that eye on the prize around, okay, I feel overwhelmed by the size of my house. It's difficult for me to upkeep and maintain. Short term, I'm going to prioritize putting the clothes away. I'm going to prioritize cleaning the living room. And long term, I'm going to aim to sell my house by spring 2025. And it allows us a lot more of a helpful cushion rather than feeling like we need to fix everything overnight. Because when we're viewing things in this very like overwhelmed perspective, it doesn't help us take any action at all. We're so worried about having to put our house on the market that we're not even putting the clothes away. Like one step at a time is really the energy. And with Mercury trine Saturn, like really investing your mental energy into what is going to be helpful, in what is logical, in what is long-term, and just observing when you're being pulled into the abyss of rumination and obsessing and fearing the worst, and just acknowledging this is not serving me. Let me do what's necessary to bring myself back into a healthy mind state. And from that space, I'll be able to plan and plot and fix the problems of my life and however that's showing up. And it's also knowing when things feel out of control within the big picture. I don't know what's happening with my relationship. I don't know what's happening with my job. I don't know what's happening with my family. Sometimes it just helps us have a sense of control over what we do have control over. I have no control over whether or not my job decides to have layoffs, but what I do have control over is if these clothes are put away or not. And sometimes just building that positive momentum helps you step into a place where you feel more empowered, more embodied, because that's truly what Scorpio season is wanting us to find. Change is inevitable, and sometimes when change is looming, which it is for many of us within our lives, but also within our society, within the collective, with Pluto at the final degree of Capricorn, and change can be hard for the ego. You know, that's reflected by Sun square Pluto around. We take an ego punch when there is change. Ego likes what is familiar. It likes our domain because it feels powerful when we're in our own domain. And so when we sense that something is coming, that something is changing, that something is evolving or transforming within our world, with Sun square Pluto, it can send us in a space of fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Like it can send us in this space where we're in survival mode, right? And you're not the most embodied, actualized version of yourself when you're in survival mode, because survival mode makes us withdrawn to ourselves. It makes us cling to what's familiar because we just want to survive. And there's really an ask this week to really step into your power. It's not that we have control over everything. Focus on what it is that you do have control of. And really seek to invest your energy in what makes you feel powerful, because that can build positive momentum within your world. So it's just acknowledging you can cry in the parking lot if you need to. You can doom scroll if you need to. You can bed rot if you need to, a little bit. But then acknowledge when it's like, this is not helping me whatsoever. What's one thing that's going to be productive or helpful for mind, body, or soul? What's one thing that's going to put me in a positive direction? What's one thing that I can change or do differently in order to put me in a space where I'm not viewing the world through doom or gloom? If you wanted to bed rot and obsess and ruminate and freak out all day long, I guarantee there's lots of things that you can do that over. But it's also acknowledging this actually isn't helping anything whatsoever. And I cannot fix everything overnight, so I'm just going to put my mental energy and be very disciplined with where I'm exerting my mental energy into what will put me in a more positive direction, what will put me into a more positive momentum. Change is inevitable. It's going to be hard on my ego when it happens, but I'm not here to just survive. I'm here to thrive. And so we will dive into this astrology so much deeper within our day-by-day analysis. I just have a couple of quick notes before we do. I want to say firstly that all times that I mentioned are PDT. So that's Pacific time zone. So please adjust to your local time zone before you make a note of these dates and times that these transits land during, as they very well may differ. I also want to highlight that there are timestamps below should you feel called to jump to a particular day or jump back to a particular day. And I do have a tendency to talk quite fast, so feel free to play with the playback speed in order to adjust my rate of speaking to your rate of processing. And without further ado, let's go ahead and take it into the astrology for Monday, October 21st. So happy Monday. Welcome to your horoscope for Monday, October 21st. So at 11:35 p.m. PDT, Mercury in Scorpio will trine Saturn in Pisces. And this lands very late on Monday, so you may absolutely feel this early Tuesday morning as well. And really this energy is the very energetic that was represented in the vibe check around grounding yourself down, around realizing where you've been kind of engaging in black or white thinking or extreme thinking and where it's not serving you. And with Mercury in Scorpio trining Saturn in Pisces, it's wanting to invest your mental energy into what will genuinely help you, or what will genuinely help you show up for your responsibilities, show up for your commitments. Because when we are freaking out and panicking around how out of control we feel of our own house or of our own job or of our own life, we are not in the headspace that helps us actually fix the problems that we're observing. We're just engaging in more and more overwhelm when we allow ourselves to continue to descend and spiral in that sort of thinking. And with Mercury trine Saturn, it's just that energy, that awareness, that mindfulness around realizing, okay, no, you've ruminated, you've obsessed, you've felt your feelings, and now it's time to do something. Now it's time to focus on something different. And all of us may find that we have a different way of like mentally shifting gears. Within the vibe check, our protagonist went for a walk. Absolutely. Sometimes getting away from the problem, if everything in your house is just making you feel more overwhelmed because it's just reminding you of all the things that you have to clean or even all the projects that you have to do before you sell the house, sometimes the most productive thing that you can do is just be like, this is a lot. I just need a break from all of it. I need to go to my special sacred spot and I need to just clear my head and get away from the problem, because when I return back to my home, I'll have a more clear head in order to dial into one thing at a time. Sometimes that's our chosen way of helping our mind go in a more positive direction. Now, for some of you, maybe if you're in that space where you're freaking out and you're spiraling, you need to talk to someone. And that can absolutely be Mercury trine Saturn, is being able to call a dear friend of yours or talk to your spouse or talk to your partner around, I'm freaking out at these things. Can we talk about it? Because sometimes our thoughts, when we're just in that more ruminating, obsessive mental space, we are just not seeing things clearly, and being able to talk to someone who's out of the situation helps us recognize it's not so bad and it's going to be okay. And sometimes that's what we need to kind of pull ourselves out of those moments. For some, sometimes it helps to actually have a plan. Like if you are feeling overwhelmed and out of control and there's lots of things that you want to change, it can be helpful to hone in on the short term and the long term around, okay, short term, let's clean the house, let's put away the clothes, and long term, let's get a plan in place for selling the property if that is what I desire. And allowing yourself to build momentum to it. It doesn't all need to be done right now. Sometimes when we have Pluto energy alive in the cosmos, we just have this energy of intensity, that things are crumbling, like things are falling apart. And sometimes it could be very overwhelming that everything needs to change and uproot and be disrupted right now, especially with Pluto at the anaretic degree currently. The anaretic degree is a degree, 29 degrees, that represents urgency. So there could be this energy around everything in my life needs to change right now. I need to sell this house overnight. And it's just this energy around, whoa. Slow your roll. Sometimes it helps to get a plan in place, because when you're just witnessing things in your life that feel out of control and that you want change, sometimes it's going to be helpful to be like, well, that's exactly what I'm building towards. In spring 2025, I have this plan in place. And having the short term and the long term helps you recognize where it is that you are stacking your priorities, where it is that you're focusing your mental energies in order to build momentum to that end result of what it is that you desire. And so just knowing that this energy is accessible on Monday, I do want to highlight here, of course, we'll talk more about it tomorrow, but we have Sun square Pluto landing very early on Tuesday. So these energies are kind of dueling. Mercury trine Saturn itself is very grounded, it's logical, it's pragmatic, it's pulling ourselves out of waves of thought that are not serving in order to pull ourselves in a more productive direction. It's this energy around long-term planning and having important conversations. That can be Mercury trine Saturn. But with Sun square Pluto building to exact tomorrow, there can also be this building feeling of powerlessness or feeling like things are out of your control. And so it's just really important to really activate this Mercury trine Saturn energy within your world around doing whatever helps you be in a more grounded, pragmatic headspace, because that's going to help you solve the problems within your world, or at least put your mental energy towards what will benefit you. Because when we're doom scrolling, when we're ruminating, when we're spiraling, we are simply not in a space to be able to build any sort of positive momentum within our lives. And so with Mercury trine Saturn, sometimes the most productive thing that you could do is just do whatever necessary to get yourself into a better headspace and then come back to the problem. However you do that, whether it's a talk with a friend, whether it's going for a long walk, whether it's getting a plan in place, there could just be an energy to soothe your mind in order to move forward. Because obsessing, ruminating, feeling out of control is not always so productive. Because, we talked at the beginning around bridging the barrier, right? Walking the chasm, the valley, the canyon between your comfort zone and your most embodied, actualized self. And that the barriers in between a lot of times can be very Plutonian. The barriers of the legitimate unknown. I don't know what's there. The barriers of our own fears, the barriers of our own shadow self, or the sides of ourself or of our life that we have run from or suppressed. Those are real hindrances and obstacles that we will be asked to overcome. But some of those obstacles are also very Saturnian flavored. And what I mean by that is if we decide, I'm going to transform my life, I'm going to evolve, and sometimes a crisis thrusts us into it. Sometimes there's no choice, just an old way of being falls apart. We're kicked out of our familiar comfort zone and we have to cross the canyon. Like sometimes there's no other option, or sometimes something crumbles or falls apart to such a degree that we have no other option but to evolve. Sometimes we make the decision around this comfort zone is not serving me, so off I go. And when you first make that decision, I'm going to change my life, I'm going to transform, you can kind of roll with that crisis energy. Whether you created the crisis or the crisis was thrust on you, that crisis can create momentum where we start on this journey. But at a certain point, it's important to have endurance and discipline. And that's where Saturn comes in. Because it's one thing to decide, I'm crossing this canyon, I am bridging this barrier, I am crossing this chasm, I'm going to the unknown. It's one thing to decide that, but it's the next to continue to walk through it, to have the discipline and the endurance to continue to show up for yourself. And not just show up for yourself, but show up for your higher self who needs you right now. My higher self needs me right now. And with Mercury trine Saturn, it's really this energy of mental discipline, the game of life. And a lot of this experience, so much of it is here. So much of it is here. And let Scorpio season be a reminder of that. So much of this life are things that we do not see. It is what is unsaid, what is unseen, what is beneath the surface. It is our psyche, it is our mentality. And with Mercury trine Saturn, it's acknowledging that, but it's also exerting mental discipline around that. Around this line of thinking is not going to be helpful in me bridging the barrier to get to where it is that I really want to go. So it's having discipline around, I could indulge in these ruminating thoughts, these obsessing thoughts, or I could focus my mental energy towards what helps me move in a more positive direction, and which takes discipline. It's a muscle to have that moment when you're spiraling and you're like, okay, I need to shift gears. I need to go for a walk. I need to call a friend. I need to do something different. This is not serving me. That takes discipline. And it's also just being intentional with what you are feeding your mind. And I highlight this particularly because this is a water trine, Mercury in Scorpio trining Saturn in Pisces. And water particularly is susceptible to what it is that we are absorbing, right? If Scorpio is a pond, it's important what we are putting in the pond of our mind. And what I mean by that is be intentional with the voices and the viewpoints that you are feeding yourself and make it reflective of the life that you want to build rather than the fears that you have. And this could also be like the mental discipline around learning from different voices who inspire you, who empower you, who represent in some way or fashion what it is that you are wanting to move towards. This could be an energy around making time to intentionally connect with the people who you could talk about your dreams with. And maybe this is even like at work, taking your boss out for a meal to pick their brain on something, or like, having mentors, I'm big on mentors, in order to get new data around how they got what they wanted, and picking apart the data around what do they have that I desire or that feels reflective of the life that I'm moving towards. Because it's beyond even just the wisdom or the insights that can come through the podcasts and the books and the mentors and the voices that you intentionally curate within your world. It's beyond that. It also is osmosis, like when we're talking about water energy. It's also just vibrationally being in the space can be so powerful. I have a friend, I kid you not, and he doesn't work there still, but he got the job as the lead photographer at Hotel Del Coronado, which is one of the nicest hotels here in San Diego, by going to the hotel, grabbing a drink within the bar, and just kind of like soaking up the vibes, having different conversations with people there, and just vibrationally acclimating to the environment. Now, this isn't to say that everybody should, go like harass the workplace if you want a job there, but I loved that story because I feel like it's just vibrationally and energetically being in the space and having the conversations that are reflective of what you want. And so having discipline with what you are feeding your mind. Let the podcasts, the books on your shelf, the music that you listen to be reflective of what it is that you are building, what it is that you are creating. Intentionally work the muscle of learning from voices who have something that you want, whether that is a lifestyle, whether that is a relationship, whether that is a title, whatever it is, it's investing energy in your mentality by seeing what's possible out there. Because like I said, our mind is just looking for threats and scanning for threats. So if you're reading on social media around how everything is the worst, and you are reading novels where it's drama and relationship problems and all of these things, also give your brain some positive stimuli around what's possible out there and mentally acclimate to the temperature of those waters, right? And just show yourself that it is possible. Invest energy in those expanders. And naturally, if you want what somebody else has, you might feel jealous or envious, but just see them as embodiments of what could be possible for you. We live in a time in which you have access to so many different viewpoints and perspectives, and people who have overcome their fears, their obstacles, which very well may differ from yours, but it's helpful to have visual and mental reminders of what is possible, because when we're in the comfort zone, we can project our worst fears on the unknown. So give yourself some mental stimuli of the good things that could await for you within the unknown. And with Mercury trine Saturn, just to a very, very realistic level, this could be helpful to get focused. What do you want? How can you invest your mental energy towards building the future that you desire? Have conversations about your future, maybe at work. Maybe this is with your friends, maybe even with Mercury trine Saturn. Write a letter to your higher self or write a life map of how you want things to go or how you are desiring things to go. Again, we have this like looming energy of Sun square Pluto that can make us feel out of control and I don't know where things are going. And you can view that in one of two ways. You could view that as, I don't know where things are going and I feel so out of control that I just feel like I'm a victim of my circumstances and my life is a tornado that's just blowing me around. Or it's just this acknowledgement around things are changing, so let me project and visualize the most positive manifestation of how things can change in a more beneficial way for me. And so from a lunar perspective, the moon is in Gemini for the first portion of the day. It sextiles Chiron and conjoins Jupiter shortly after midnight. So if you're awake for that, there can be an energy around potentially healing conversations or a healing perspective, feeling a little bit more optimistic. I will say the Gemini moon squares Neptune in Pisces at around 11:50 a.m., which is not always so helpful for having the most productive Monday. I will be forthright. Luckily, the ruler of the Gemini moon is building to trine Saturn. So you might be distracted, you might kind of visit dreamland, but you also have this ability to pull yourself back with Mercury trine Saturn. Have your list around the most important priorities that you want to do today and pull yourself back to that if you notice you get kind of veered away with the moon square Neptune energy. Sometimes with moon square Neptune, we just feel more exhausted, we feel more drained. We can also just be more in la-la land. We could be feeling a little bit more sensitive, a little bit more checked out. On the bright side of Neptune energy, you could be feeling more inspired to a big picture level. Like I said, this could be a great day to write a life map or something of the nature, how you want things to go or how you are going to bridge the gap in order to get to your most actualized self, the one who has what it is that you desire. Like Neptune energy can help us envision it, help us picture it. It could also be a time to connect to your soul space, connect to universe. You know, with Sun square Pluto, there could be a lot that feels intense and transformative, and it's super important to invest energy in what makes you feel connected and guided, because you are not alone. Spirit, source energy, universe, God is there with you. And with Moon square Neptune, it can be a day to hand your worries over to the universe. And then the Gemini moon trines the Libra sun around 2 p.m. So it also could be a day that you're getting lost in conversations with coworkers. You know, meetings could be going longer. Like I said, it would be a great day to take someone to lunch, talk to a mentor of yours, talk to someone who inspires you, listen to voices who inspire you. You could find that the hours are kind of leaking away. You know, Neptune energy tends to make things feel like they're just dissipating around, how did this lunch take 3 hours? Like, that could be an energy that you experience on Monday, but also just observe where it is that you are connecting with other souls, whether that's, you know, digitally or in person, what have you. The moon is void from 2 p.m. until it enters its domicile Cancer at 3:50 p.m. And with the moon entering Cancer, you could feel more inclined to want to stay home, to want to nurture what's sacred to you, to want to honor all of the fluctuations of your emotional landscape. So on Tuesday, October 22nd, at 7:15 a.m., the Libra sun will square Pluto in Capricorn. For some of us, we can experience this as power struggles. Some of us could be experiencing power struggles within our relationships, within our partnerships. Some of us can experience power struggles when it comes to those in authority. There can also just be awareness of power dynamics within the bigger picture of society. Pluto energy tends to kick up the shadow side of things. So you could be really seeing the shadow side of Pluto and Capricorn, the shadow side of government, structures, corporations, things of that nature, which again can make us feel very out of control. And it's not to say that there's not things that we could obsess and ruminate and doom scroll about, but it's also acknowledging when it gets to a level around this is not helping. This is not helping anyone. It's not helping anything. And sometimes the best thing that we can do, I know it's a cliche, but sometimes the best thing that we can do, rather than adding to any sort of freak out or panic or crisis or the world is over, the best thing that we can do is put on our own oxygen mask, just like on an airplane, put on our own oxygen mask, do whatever is possible to regulate yourself, to bring yourself back into a balanced state before you feel like you have to fix everything, whether it's within your world or within the overall perspective. Because with Sun square Pluto, we could just be feeling a lot of anxiety around where things are evolving, where things are transforming, and again, feeling very out of control of what is transpiring, projecting the worst case scenario upon it all, because it is unknown and it is uncharted territory, the canyon between, whether that's within our lives or just within society altogether. And with Sun square Pluto, this was the energy that I was speaking to when I was saying that our ego doesn't like change, because change means we could fail. And sometimes we stay in environments that are good for the ego and hell for the soul. And what I mean by that is that the soul wants to grow, it wants to evolve, it wants to try new things, it wants to discover new sides of ourself. The ego wants to feel cool, wants to feel powerful, wants to feel in control. And so sometimes when we're living from the ego, we resist taking chances that we know could move our lives in a trajectory that would be the most soulfully inspiring, the most aligned with the person that we are. But we hesitate because what if we look dumb? What if we look like a loser? What if we fail? And sometimes this can manifest within our lives around staying in positions that we are horrendously overqualified for because it's familiar, because it's comfortable, because we know what we're doing and we're in a familiar groove there and we don't make mistakes because we're so dialed in with the job. And what if we try something new and we fail? What if we feel like a loser? What if we have to get into environments that are uncomfortable? Better stay here. Even if there's dimensions of myself that I want to meet, should I take this risk? I'll just stay here. It's good for the ego, hell for the soul. And if we're living from the ego, it will cause us to overstay in environments that are no longer a place of growth for us, because we know that we at least won't have to risk being seen as a failure, being seen as a loser. What if I try something new and I flop at it? What if I step into this new city, this new era of my life, and I have to move back? And then people think of me as a loser and a flop and a failure. It's noticing where it is that you're leaking your power out around allowing other people's perceptions of you to have dominion over your world. Around, it's more important that other people don't think that I'm a loser and a failure and a flop than me living a lukewarm lifestyle, staying in environments that I've outgrown because I don't want to be seen as lame. Where are you leaking your power out? Why do you care about these people's opinions? People don't think about you as much as you think that they do. And oftentimes when we stay in positions that we're overqualified for, because what if I take a risk and I start that business that I'm scared of and then I post about it and people from my high school see it and then they think I'm lame. It's like, who cares? You're not going to be at the end of your life. Sorry to get morbid, but Scorpio season starts today. But you're not going to be at the end of your life and be like, I'm so glad that I looked cool to the people I went to high school with. I'm so glad that I stayed in environments where I wasn't learning anything, where I wasn't growing, so I never had to take a risk and I never had to fail and I never had to flop. I'm so glad I never flopped. I'm so glad I never failed. Fail, flop, learn, grow, evolve. That's what our soul wants. We learn through our failures. If you talk to successful entrepreneurs, they failed. Oftentimes they failed many times, but they took the data and they kept going. And maybe that's the nudge from Mercury and Scorpio trine Saturn and Pisces, is like really learn from the data and exert mental discipline around not letting your past failures cast fear and anxiety on your future. It's just learning from it and continuing to evolve. And not allowing yourself to leak out your power around, well, what if people think this? And what if people think that? The most embodied, actualized life is one that's lived from the soul and not the ego. So I'm not saying everybody needs to, quit their jobs and start a business. I'm not saying that's even what everybody desires. But what I'm saying is observe where you are leaking your power out. And particularly if you want to be seen in a certain way, or you don't want to be perceived as a loser or perceived as a failure or perceived as a flop. Rewire it. See being a flop as always playing it safe, always doing what was expected of you. That's the real flop. That's the real failure. Learn the different sides of yourself. Learn the different dimensions of your being, of your creativity, of your expression. Another way to view Sun square Pluto is kind of this energy around the world is ending. And it's not me saying that the world is legitimately ending, but it could feel like it is in some Plutonian way. It could feel like something is falling apart, something is crumbling. And we can view that one of two ways. We could be like, okay, the world is ending, so what's the point of doing anything at all, right? Or you could view it as the world is ending, so why am I waiting to live? Like the gift of Pluto energy is that it really does rip us from anything that is superficial and really takes us into this very raw existential energy around this life is finite and this time is my own. Why am I waiting to live? Why am I giving other people power over me, making their opinions, their approval more important than what it is that I'm feeling soulfully called for? If the world is really ending, what's stopping me from living a life that I'm truly inspired by and that I feel like I'm growing and evolving within? So at a very practical level, you could be engaging with individuals who are very egotistical, who need you to kind of like pet their egos a bit, who are lording their power over you. There can just be an overall sensation of unease. You can be viewing yourself, your ego, and identity through this more extreme lens. That was kind of the vibe and the vibe check around, I'm a loser, I'm the worst. Again, is that the radio station that is going to help you bridge the gap between where it is that you are now and your higher self? Is that the way of viewing yourself that is going to help you? Like Pluto is very psychological. And so this aspect can also speak to self-concept, how it is that you see yourself. And again, Pluto energy can go to extremes. So you might engage with people who are very grandiose, right? On the extreme of that regard. Or you yourself, or maybe people around you could be engaging this energy around, I'm a loser, I'm a flop, I'm a failure, like very extreme ways of viewing our own ego. There can be a way to shift how it is that you see yourself, the esteem that you hold yourself within. And Pluto energy is very obsessive. And we enter Scorpio season today, which tends to be very obsessive as well. And there's nothing wrong with being obsessive. There's nothing wrong with being very devoted towards something, very intrigued by something. But I would just say be mindful of where it is that you are leaking your power out by putting someone else on a pedestal within your world, with this being the Libra sun. put yourself on the pedestal. Like I said earlier, we want to avoid extremes of ego, right? Like on one side of the spectrum would be like a God complex, very grandiose superiority. And on one being like, I am a fleck of dust. I am but a fly swimming in a cup of coffee with pumpkin spice creamer, like an energy of extremes, right? And we want to avoid both of those extremes. But what I would say is be mindful of where you are putting someone else on a pedestal within your life with the Libra Sun square Pluto, and seeing where instead you can get obsessed with yourself and put yourself on the pedestal. Not in a grandiose sort of way, but an energy around if you find yourself putting a lot of energy, allowing your sense of self, your confidence to be dictated by someone else's response to you, that is you leaking your power out. It's you signaling to the universe, I cannot be happy or empowered until these specific outer conditions are met. And with the Libra Sun, this may be reflected within a significant relationship within your world. Until my best friend texts me back, until my crush likes my Instagram story, whatever it is, my sense of self is contingent upon getting this particular response from someone else. That is us leaking our power out and putting other people on the pedestal, giving them the power to validate us. And in terms of stepping into your most powerful embodied timeline, it's putting yourself on the pedestal, not in a grandiose way, but an energy where rather than obsessing over getting these particular responses or reactions, it's getting obsessed with being your best self. It's getting obsessed with how it is that you are going to bridge the gap towards what it is that you desire within this lifetime. It's placing yourself on the pedestal of your world around connections are great, but I'm going to go to bed happy tonight, whether I get this text back or whether this person likes me or not, because I like me. I like me. So it's not leaking your power out via getting particular responses from other people or even being obsessed with getting certain responses from other people. So just be mindful of that. At around 3 p.m., a little after 3 p.m., the sun enters Scorpio. So I want to take this opportunity to wish happy birthday to all of my intense Scorpios. Scorpio, we adore you for your devotion, for your unmatched loyalty within the zodiac, for your wry sense of humor. Thank you for showing the rest of us what it means to be resilient, to continue to reinvent yourself, knowing that the next iteration of yourself is going to be even more empowered, even more embodied, even more aligned than the versions of you that came prior. I absolutely adore you. I hope you enjoy your season. And just with all of us in Scorpio season, you can find that you're wanting to dive into the arenas that are beneath the surface. You can find, especially today on Tuesday with the moon in Cancer and the sun in Scorpio, some of you could be craving a little bit of a hermit era. You might be not wanting to share as much with the outside world. Maybe that Mercury trine Saturn brainstorming sesh the night prior where you wrote your life map and decided what it is that you want and how you're going to get there, how you're going to bridge the gap. Maybe there's an energy around, okay, it's time to go hermit for a little bit. It's time to be in my hermit era. Maybe you're observing, I'm putting so much of my mental energy towards social media that's filling my mind with negativity and self-doubt. Let me re-strategize my priorities, share less on social media, and put that towards other arenas in my life that are more beneficial. Or maybe it's an energy around there are certain environments that I'm spending time in that are not good for me. Let me hermit, focus on my fitness, focus on my mental health, focus on my business, and then pop out in 3 months' time is the most powerful version of myself, right? Like you could find that you are wanting to invest more energy in what people do not see. And you might be wanting to revoke access of yourself to the outside world around, I just need to disappear for a little bit, from social media, maybe from hanging with my friends, and then pop out as an even more aligned, embodied version of myself. That's very Scorpionic coded. Scorpio is the phoenix. It's rising from the ashes. It's reinventing ourselves. It's transforming ourselves. And maybe you are feeling this nudge around wanting to kind of hermit a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with that. Engage a little mystery, let people miss you. But if you are craving this hermit era, really utilize that time constructively, because it's not always so good for our mental health to withdraw from the world and just ruminate in bed or spiral or things of that nature. If you are feeling this craving around, I need to put more energy towards what's private, towards what's sacred to me. I don't want to be as accessible to the outside world. Utilize that energy helpfully around, okay, I'm deleting the Instagram app off my phone, and instead of scrolling on Instagram, I'm going to read a book a week. Like, really be intentional around utilizing this energy helpfully, so you're not just, avoiding the world and spiraling in bed. Like, that's not what a hermit era is truly for. Sometimes there's a reason why we do hermit, or why we are feeling this draw. It's almost like, Venus is in Sagittarius, which is the archer. It's almost like pulling back the bow in order to launch the arrow. Like, sometimes we withdraw or come inward in order to expand out into the world. So answer that call if you are feeling that nudge. You're wanting to share less on social media. You're wanting to socialize less. Again, not in a way where you are avoiding the world, but in a way around, my energy feels so powerful. I feel like I'm, giving birth to this new timeline. I feel like I'm creating this new self that I need to invest it intentionally within myself. With Mars in Cancer and its pre-retrograde shadow, it's supply and demand, my loves. Like, with the planet of action in a position where it is not dignified, getting ready to station retrograde by the end of the year, there's more demand on our energy because there is less supply. If you're feeling more exhausted, if you're feeling more drained, this is common with this sort of celestial conditions. And it's important that you save your energy towards what is sacred to you, even if it's not visible to the outside world quite yet. They'll see. You'll disappear from the world and bounce back even better if you are feeling this draw. Not all of us are. This could be this call around, my energy just feels so powerful and so sacred. I'm really wanting to invest it in things that people can't see yet, or invest it into the inner reservoirs of who I am. Like, I would say with Mars in Cancer, and especially when it goes retrograde a little later on, really audit your energy. Where are you expending it? And are you investing it into what is soulful, what is sacred to you? And we have with the moon in Cancer, which governs the home and the roots, hence why I was saying some of us could be feeling a call to kind of pull into our inner private reality, whether that's indicative of a much bigger season of our life, or maybe even just this week. We are moving into waning crescent moon phase a little later on this week, which tends to be a time that we do feel inclined to withdraw our energy, come inward. But that Cancer moon kicks off this really beautiful grand water trine in the cosmos, where yes, the moon's water grand trine in the cosmos, water grand trine in the cosmos between the moon, Mercury in Scorpio, and Saturn in Pisces. So again, pay attention to intuitively how you're feeling inclined to nurture yourself. Maybe that's an energy around, there are certain social activities I do not have the energy for, or I'm not inclined to structure my priorities in such a way to bucket my precious energy towards that. Or maybe it's an energy around honoring, this is a soulful project that I really want to invest energy into, or this is a habit that I have that I recognize is not particularly conducive nor helpful to my emotional state, so I'm going to replace it with a more helpful habit for my mental health. This could also show up because, Mercury and Saturn are very businessy planets. It can also show up around really allowing your emotional intelligence and your intuition to guide you towards the right projects that you're wanting to prioritize, to the right strategies when engaging with different sorts of personalities at work. It could be an energy with the water grand trine that you are really listening to your intuition in order to structure your energy, in order to focus, in order to prioritize the important matters to you, as well as just flowing with the universe, like really listening to what it is that you're feeling drawn towards, what it is that you're feeling the call towards. And with the water grand trine, also honor what you can do to fill your own cup. Particularly if you're feeling depleted, trying to pour into other arenas of our life. I'm saying so many cliche things this Magic Monday. I do apologize. I think it's because I'm wearing such a corny, punny costume this week. But truly, I want you to feel this, and I want you to receive this, and I want you to live this week. You cannot pour from an empty cup. When we are trying to address problems within our life and fix things for ourselves or for other people, when we are depleted and drained and even fearful, anxious, paranoid, wherever we're at, we are simply not going to be as effective at meeting the needs of what is being asked of us. Sometimes the most productive thing that you can do is ask yourself, what is going to help me get into the most sound state of mind? What is going to help me to soothe myself so I'm able to really approach this issue as the whole of who it is that I am? Because like I said, when we are drained, when we're depleted, we're in survival mode, and we don't make the wisest decisions in survival mode. And sometimes we can either make mountains out of molehills, or we can just feel so overwhelmed that we don't even know where to start. Sometimes the best thing that you could do is ask yourself, what's going to help me ground my mind down? What's going to help me to soothe my emotions so that I can revisit this problem feeling full from mind, body, soul, and being able to pour into this arena of my life. Fill your own cup. It's really the energy of the grand water trine. Now on Wednesday, October 23rd, around 5 a.m., so a little wake-up call from the universe. Thank you very much for this wake-up call, because the wake-up call is that the Cancer moon squares Chiron in Aries, which is not the most pleasant, wake-up call. It's kind of that alarm that you have on your phone that is so obnoxious that you start to detest it and honestly get a little triggered whenever you hear it. It may not be an alarm that's getting us up on Wednesday, but it could just be this energy of sadness. The energy of Cancer moon, we're feeling everything intensely. We're in Scorpio season now, so we're feeling everything intensely. And with the square to Chiron, there could just be an energy around waking up with a sense of unease. Maybe we had certain dreams that made us feel a little uneasy. Maybe there's an energy around just feeling emotional and not being certain why. We could be missing the past with the energy of the Cancer moon. And it really is this in-between, with the energy of now Sun separating from Pluto. It's this in-between around acknowledging that we don't live in the past, but we're not yet where it is that we're going, and just feeling like we are lacking a landing place, right? Not feeling the sensation of home and security. And it is scary to do something new. It is scary to leave our comfort zone. And we could be really in that space around wanting to cling to what is familiar and safe and secure, even if it doesn't serve us. It's familiar, it's safe. It's really that analogy around the frog and the boiling pot of water. Again, I'm so sorry. My analogies this week, it's like girly pop. These have been told so many times. I do apologize. But if you haven't heard it, if you're the two people in the world who has not heard this analogy, essentially, if a frog were to jump into a boiling pot of water, it would jump right out, because obviously boiling water, not safe, gotta go. Versus if the frog is in the pot of water and you raise it 1 degree temperature at a time, it will stay and be boiled, because it's the comfort zone. And we don't notice how uninhabitable an environment is getting when it's slow and steady. And familiarity and our comfort zone works very much that way. Where the frog might feel like getting a little warmer. This doesn't exactly feel like the environment for me, but what's outside of the pot? And at least I know this pot. At least I know this environment. At least I know that I'm safe here. But are we? That's the paradox of playing it safe or playing in our comfort zone, is that it's really not that safe. It's really not that comfortable, especially if we're somewhere where we're not meant to be. God will never give you peace in a place that you were never meant to settle with. But we can gaslight ourselves around, it's better to be in this pot than whatever awaits me out there. I mean, what if there's a monster out there? What if there's Bigfoot out there? Like, who knows? For a little frog like me, I'll stay in the pot. Gosh, it is getting warm, but I'll stay in the pot, safer in the pot. We don't observe how bad an environment can get, or how uninhabitable, or just how not aligned it's getting when it's slow and steady and we've been there for a while and it feels familiar. And I'm not saying everybody needs to do these huge life-changing transformations within their world this week, but there could be something like we're on the precipice of Pluto entering a new territory of the sky where it's staying until 2044. So a lot of us are feeling this call that it's time to move into this new chapter of life. And what I have to ask you is, how hot does this pot need to get for you to finally acknowledge whatever is out there is less scary than staying in here, right? Whatever that might look like within your world. But with the energy of the Cancer moon square Chiron, it could be this energy around feeling triggered. Sun square Pluto did bring up themes around our ego and things of that nature. And so you could be like reminding yourself of past times that you failed and it didn't work out. Or this energy around much better to stick to what's familiar and safe, even if it's painful, rather than dare take a risk. Or allowing the stories from our past to project visions to our future. My love, you do not live there anymore. You do not live in the past anymore. And with the square to Chiron, we had a huge spotlight on this last week with the Aries full moon aligned with Chiron. There could be an energy around feeling triggered and wanting to withdraw, wanting to stay safe or play it safe. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with the hermit era or limiting access from the outside world, but really acknowledge where this desire to potentially withdraw is really coming from. Because I see for some of you, there's like a fear of being seen that's being spotlighted this week, okay? And with the energy of, Scorpio sun, Cancer moon squaring Chiron, I'd rather not be visible. I'd rather stay hidden. And again, it's not that we all need to necessarily be seen, but a lot of times we self-sabotage because we're like, well, if I'm seen, then I could be judged. So it's like checking in with your motivations around why am I not wanting to be seen? Why am I wanting to withdraw into what is secure? Again, maybe it's temporary. Maybe you just kind of have a rough morning and you need to soothe yourself with some sort of comfort, with some sort of tradition, with grabbing a donut or something that like soothes the inner child that exists within you. But I just feel for some of you, you could be kind of withdrawing into your comfort zone or not wanting to be seen or not wanting to put yourself out there because you're listening to that wounded, triggered part of you that has potentially been judged before. We do have that evening. The moon does build to oppose Pluto at around 9:47 p.m., which can plunge us into intensity, observe where things are changing and transforming. But before that happens, the Cancer moon does trine Neptune, which reminds us, it might feel like you're on your own. It might feel like things are transforming and you're out of control of your world. But those are the moments that you need to connect to whatever your higher power is, whether that's universe, spirit, source energy, God, whatever you call it. Those are the times to really know that you are not walking this valley alone. As much as it can feel like you are, reach out for guidance, pray, meditate. Know that you are guided. And while we do not know exactly how everything is going to play out, know that there is a reason why you are going through what you are going through. Know there is a reason why you are drawn to what it is that you are drawn to. Know that there's a reason why you are being magnetized to the voices, the spaces, the environments that you are being magnetized towards. There's no coincidences, okay? It's Scorpio season, and the moon will be void after it opposes Pluto. So just try to get some shut-eye on Wednesdays, sometimes opposition to Pluto. We could be, staying up late at night, just like obsessing and freaking out, trying to go to sleep. And the moon will be void until it enters Leo at 10:24 p.m., which draws our awareness to our confidence, our creativity, our life force energy. On Thursday, October 24th, around 1 a.m., we have the last quarter Leo moon. And this is a check-in point from last week's Aries full moon, which I would love to know. How was that for you? What came up? Did you feel like it was more triggering? Did you feel like it was more healing? Did it bring you back to the warrior that you are? I would love to know. Comment below if you're comfortable sharing. And just know that this is a time in which we can experience some aftershocks, some aftermath of whatever came to the surface with that Aries full moon. And with the last quarter moon, it's referred to as the crisis of spirit phase. And again, it is this acknowledgement that things are transforming and changing. It could be an acknowledgement of what it is that you need to let go of, what it is that you need to release. We're in Scorpio season, which is around shedding, release, renewal, letting go. Like sometimes with the energy of Scorpio season, we just feel the call to want to get rid of some stuff, get rid of some clothes that are associated with this past era. Sometimes there's an energy around just wanting to delete photos, just wanting to like let go of what is not serving you. Can sometimes be a nudge here. As well as there could just be certain emotions that feel very intense, that feel very spiky. And there's an ask to allow yourself to feel them. We've got a Scorpio sun, a Leo moon. Love both of these signs, but this can be a little bit more dramatic. So there can be an energy to, allow yourself to have that dramatic moment, like of just getting back from work and just jumping in your bed and just being like, it was the worst day. I had a flat tire and this house is a mess. Like, it's not to say that you can't have those expressions, but it's acknowledging when I've cried my tears, I had my little dramatic moment, and now it's time to shift gears, right? Like I could continue to invest my energy in this, but I'm recognizing it is no longer serving me. It's time to shift gears. And sometimes when we just allow ourselves to be dramatic and have a reaction, socially, we're after that Aries full moon, very raw, unfiltered sign. Sometimes when we just allow ourselves to be dramatic, be fiery, let it go, we get to that moment where it's like, I have no tears left to cry. Let's shift directions. I'm now bored with my breakdown. I have now spiraled out and now I'm ready to rebuild in a new direction. But when we suppress, when we just try to not let ourselves cry, just act like everything's okay. Sometimes we just continue to live in this very kind of like lukewarm state where it's not fully spiraling, but it's also not fully being alive. It's just kind of being in the in-between because we're not being honest with what it is that we're feeling. Sometimes when we allow ourselves to just process, feel, have our little dramatic breakdown, we get bored of it and we're able to shift gears. So I'm not saying everybody needs to break down this week, but sometimes it could be helpful. And it doesn't even need to be a dramatic breakdown. It could be, writing a song about what it is that you're moving through with the energy of the last quarter moon in Leo. It could be releasing clothes that don't align with how it is that you're wanting to express yourself moving forward. It can be this energy around dropping everything and moving in a direction of what makes you happy or joyful, right? Where it's like, there's so many things I should be doing, need to be doing, but I know I will not be productive at doing any of them unless I have a self-care day and do something that's really good for the soul, that charges up my soul space. And it can be this energy around releasing where pride can be holding you back because it's bigger than you. Like the energy of Scorpio, it's about what it is that we are passionate about. And if you are passionate about something, that's energy. That is guidance from the universe. And if you allow yourself to be taken out of that positive momentum, what you're passionate about, what you're obsessed with, creating, things of that nature, because you're like, well, how will people receive it? Or how will they perceive me? It takes you out of that space of the creation of it. Scorpio is a very spiritual sign. And when it comes to the act of creating anything, whether you're creating a business, you're creating an art project, you're creating a home, whatever it is, I am truly of the belief that that is a co-creation with the divine and it's bigger than you. So when you make it about you around what will people say? How will I be perceived? It's like you're getting in the way of how it is that the universe is wanting to work with you and through you. Like that was how I had to trick myself to getting comfortable to showing up online because I had a lot of hesitance around being visible. Around how will I be perceived? What if people say this? Or what if people from my past think it's cringy that I'm trying to post on YouTube? And I really had to get real with myself and realize how egotistical it was for me to make it about me. If I truly believed that by my showing up, I could share an art of interpretation that is astrology, that is so deeply transformed and revolutionized my world, if I truly believed that I could be a vessel for that information, that I could help people with that information, how egotistical to make it about me, about just the conduit for this information to pour through around how are people going to think I look and talk and how I perceive. It's not about me. I am merely a conduit. I'm merely a vessel. It's bigger than me. And if you have something within you that you feel passionate about, that you feel like the universe is guiding you to do, and you're making it about you, how you will be perceived, or what people will say about you, my love, it is bigger than you. And it's not to say that I don't matter and you don't matter within the bigger scheme of things, but don't get caught up on things that are very ego-based. How I look, how I'm perceived, what people say about me. And the other energy that we have on Thursday is that we have Mars in Cancer, sextile Uranus in Taurus, which was the energy of the vibe check around. It's time to do something different. Okay, I've spiraled my spiral. Now it's time to take a walk. Get some new stimuli, get some fresh air, move some energy in a new direction. And to a very literal level, like Mars in Cancer, sextile Uranus and Taurus can quite literally be this energy of, if I keep doing what I've been doing, I will keep getting what it is that I've been getting. And do I like what it is that I've been getting? Because both of these signs, Cancer and Taurus, these are not the most adventurous signs by their own nature. They tend to be energies that are a little bit more security oriented, that tend to stick with what is tried and true. So both of these energies typically don't like stepping out of their comfort zone, but with Mars sextile Uranus, it's an invitation to do just that, to try something new, to get some new results. If we're tired of feeling the way that we're feeling, right, with Mars in Cancer, it's like, I'm so sick of beating myself up about the same problem, or I'm so sick of indulging in this self-destructive behavior when it results in feeling the same way, or I'm just so sick of spiraling in bed. It's time to do something different. If we keep doing what it is that we've been doing, we will keep getting what it is that we've been getting. And this could be positive if you like the direction, the momentum that your life is moving in. But if you feel like, I don't like what I've been getting, I'm ready for something different, Mars sextile Uranus is around. Get in some new environments, learn from some new voices, do something different, invite in some novelty within your world. Do things for the plot. And not in a way of putting yourself in harm's way by doing things that are intentionally self-destructive, but shake it up. Go to a new club, go to a new environment, do random things. You never know how one thing leads to the next thing when you do something different. And again, with Mars in Cancer, doing things that your intuition is drawn to around, I want to go grab a cup of tea at this new cafe on my way home, or I want to check out that astrology club that's meeting. I want to throw a party. It's like honoring the nudges from your intuition, as you never know how things are coming together and aligning for you. And again, if you're asking for new within your world, you've got to create avenues for the universe to deliver that to you. If you desire new people to come in your world, you have to put yourself in environments where the universe can connect you to those people. If you want new results, new clientele, you've got to put yourself in the avenue for the universe to deliver what it is that you want to you. And I'm just feeling that for some of you, it's this energy around allowing yourself to be seen in order to allow those opportunities to find you. Maybe this is even business related. If you don't show up on social media, maybe your Scorpio season story isn't hermiting away, but getting over your fear around being seen and promoting your services and what it is that you are about. It's like, how are you going to be connected to those soulmate clients, those dream clients, if you're not investing energy in the avenues for the universe to link you two together? So just honor your intuition, do random things. You never know how things lead to the next thing. I'm so a fan of doing random things, of doing things for the plot, or just getting a little weird with it, okay? With Mars sextile Uranus, say yes to a random social invitation if your intuition is guiding you to do so. Throw a random party, do a new workout class, like follow those nudges. Speaking of, I do want to say, I had chat a little bit about the Pisces party that I was going to have. I want to let you know that we did indeed have the Pisces party, and as expected, it was the most eclectic group of Pisces who showed up. Everybody was so fascinating, like the stories that everybody had were so fascinating. And I swear by the end of the night, it was very on brand for Pisces. All of us were just like kind of therapizing one another, like talking about our deepest, darkest secrets and like problems of the world, and all of the other fish were like weighing in around their own perspective. It was incredibly on brand for a Pisces party, and it was just such a random thing to do. But you've got to do things in life. You've got to put yourself out there in life. Some things will succeed, some things will fail. I would consider the Pisces party a win just because of the beautiful people that were there, the amazing conversations that I had. I adore all of you. And sometimes we throw a party, we go to a club, we stop for a cup of tea on the way home, and it's not so much of a win, but maybe we got a story out of it. Maybe we learned something that was necessary while we were there. Maybe we picked up a business card that was on the table that will be helpful within our next step of a journey. We don't know how we're being set up for the next chapter, so just follow your intuition around where it is that you're feeling led, and also follow what feels good. You know, we've got the moon in Leo all day long, and at 2:43 p.m., the Leo moon does trine Venus in Sagittarius. So again, that last quarter moon exacted after midnight, so there could have been energies of crisis or feeling a little bit dramatic or something of that nature. But by 2:43, with the trine to Venus, pay attention to what feels good, right? Like also just what stirs up a fire within you. Like when an invitation comes up, like what just kind of like sparks at you versus what feels a little bit more dull. And doing the things that intentionally fuel our confidence. We don't feel confident all the time. Confidence is a muscle, and it's doing the activities that help us walk into spaces and walk into places as the most confident version of ourselves. Confidence is a muscle, and yes, sometimes it shows up in very traditionally Venusian ways, right? Around being able to step into places and spaces feeling confident because we are wearing the clothes that make us feel good. We're doing our makeup in a way that makes us feel good. We're wearing the jewelry that makes us feel regal and powerful. We are putting energy toward feeling like our most beautiful self, right? We are going for walks. We are taking fitness classes. We are drinking water. Like we're doing these things that help us show up confidently, but it also shows up within other arenas as well, even outside of the traditional Venusian means. It's that energy around being able to step into spaces and places confidently because you know who it is that you are. because you carve space to meditate, to really get to know yourself, to really work with your guides. It's stepping into places and spaces, being confident about your art because you know how hard you work on it and you know how much you have sharpened your craft. It's stepping into places and spaces feeling confident because you know what it is that you've overcome. You know the battles that you have endured, and you know that you got to know yourself amidst it. Confidence shows up in many different fashions and forms, and there can be an energy to really step into that on Thursday, as well as just really allowing what feels good to guide you around what feels exciting, adventurous, spontaneous to guide you. On Friday, October 25th at 9:41 a.m. PDT, the Leo moon will square off with Mercury in Scorpio, which really feels like the tension, the battle between wanting to overshare versus wanting to remain mysterious. Like with the Sun and Mercury in Scorpio, there could be this desire to, want to keep things under wraps, right? Wanting to exude an air, an aura of mystery, but that could be battling with your need for potentially attention. With the Leo moon around what to divulge, what to keep secret. There could be like a tension between that around, oh my gosh, should I overshare? Or, oh my gosh, should I boast about that too much? Should I gloat about that too much? Should I have kept that secret? There could be a little bit of a battle around that, or even wanting to share something on social media and having this pull around, or should I remain mysterious and elusive? And I would just say, on Friday, but really in overall life with Mercury and Scorpio, you don't need to tell everybody everything. Like, it is important to exercise discernment and to have the energy of discipline, also with Mercury trine Saturn, around what's important to disclose versus what you want to keep sacred just to you. And don't feel like you need validation from the outer world in order to validate what's happening within your inner world. I would say you don't need attention. You don't need other people to validate your successes or your wins or your progress. Some things are safe to keep sacred. So you could feel a tension between that, as well as a tension around wanting to crash out versus wanting to be very rational and logical about the situation. Because of course, with the moon and Leo, we're having big fiery emotions currently. And not everyone will be feeling things so dramatically, but there could be this energy around, I really want to give this person a piece of my mind. I really want to have this emotional reaction, but with the square to Mercury and Scorpio, like striving to remain strategic. Because this won't be the story for everyone, but I feel like it's the story for one person out there. So I'm going to relay this for the one person out there who is navigating this. Sometimes Sun square Pluto energy that we had earlier this week can make us deal with people who are very much energetically vampiric, who kind of siphon our energy stores, even like narcissistic types, things of that nature. And a lot of these unsavory characters do thrive when we give them an emotional reaction. Like some people, that is supply to that. Not everybody, but for some, they can energetically feed off of that because you're giving them a reaction. You're leaking your energy out, your emotional energy in this instance. And so if there is something that, triggers you or bothers you on Friday, it's not saying that you cannot validate your feelings. It's not saying that your feelings are not valid. But with Mercury and Scorpio, it's being strategic around, what do I want to disclose to this person? Do I want this person to know that they have emotionally impacted me in this particular way? I would just say it would not be my choice on Friday to send a, nasty text message in the heat of the moment, or when we're feeling strongly emotional. There could be kind of a clash between what we're feeling and what we're expressing. The Leo moon will trine Chiron in Aries, so there can be an energy around experiencing some sort of healing. Again, it could be healing of our confidence. It could be an energy of healing just because we are intentionally finding joy within our world. Again, confidence is a muscle, joy is a muscle. We have to intentionally look for the things that feel good, that fill us up, that allow us to show up as the most radiant, sparkly version of ourselves. It might be little things, it might be big things, but look for things that make your heart happy. Look for proof within your outer world that this experience might be intense sometimes. We're in Scorpio season, but it is filled with things that are pure and joyful and worth living for. Like, look for that proof and you'll find it, especially with the energy of the Leo moon then sextiling Jupiter in Gemini, also in the mid-afternoon space. So this could be an energy. Sextiles are very subtle, but it can be an energy around inviting in good emotions, a sensation around growing in positive new new direction. And that sextile lands at 2:42 p.m. And so you could feel more inclined to want to socialize. You know, you might be open to a happy hour, some sort of date night or something of that nature, wanting to, you know, be seen with the energy of the Leo moon and wanting to converse with a sextile to Jupiter and Gemini, or wanting to learn something. Maybe this isn't manifesting for you as a social night out. I briefly stated this earlier, and I just want to reiterate now that we are in the waning crescent moon phase, balsamic moon phase, which tends to be a time that we feel more apt to want to withdraw our energy stores. We could be feeling more inclined to wanting to stay home or just keep things a little bit more private. So it's not that everybody needs to go out in the town. You could just want to do things that make you feel good. And I would just say Friday night, you might have a hard time sleeping. We have the moon square Uranus. There can be bizarre disturbances, weird things occur, changes to your plan. You could just be feeling a little uneasy, not certain why. Blame it on moon square Uranus building. On Saturday, October 26th, at 1 a.m., the Leo moon squares Uranus in Taurus. So we'll feel this Friday night as well as Saturday. And it can be this energy around wanting to shake things up, wanting to do things differently. Sometimes this energy can make us feel more restless. We could just feel a little unsettled with Uranus energy. Our emotions can feel a little weird and we're not certain why. I do want to reiterate, I say this every month, I'm going to say it again this month, that the time before a new moon, yes, is around closing out and clearing and withdrawing and introspecting. And sometimes there is an energy where a lot is coming up for the purpose of closing out this next chapter. And I do want to say, if you're noticing that a lot of emotions are coming up, you're feeling more inclined to want to get rid of stuff. You know, the moon enters Virgo a little later on today. You could want to clean and let go of things. That typically is a sign that the upcoming Scorpio new moon is going to be more impactful and influential for you. If you have this powerful new beginning forming within the cosmos, a lot of times we get the foreshadows for this, for kind of this powerful call to end something or release or shed or process what's coming to the surface, to sweep it away for this new beginning. So not every new moon, not every full moon is life-changing for every soul, but a lot of times you can get clues that it's a little bit more influential for you if your pre-new moon is a little intense. And so the moon's void after it squares off with Uranus until it enters Virgo at 8:47 a.m., which draws our awareness to the details of our life. And that's why within the vibe check, there was that energy around everything is a mess. Everything is a mess. Because the energy of the moon in Virgo, it wants us to feel in control by dialing into the small elements of our day-to-day. And when those elements of our day-to-day feel out of control, it just adds to that feeling of overall powerlessness within our world around, I can't control the big picture things, and even the small picture things of my life, the state of my house and my tire and my desk that I spilled coffee on and my blouse that I got deodorant on. Like, it just feels like everything is wrong. And it makes me feel very uneasy because there's so much in my life that needs to be fixed and improved and perfected. And the energy of Virgo really asks you to ground down into what it is that you can control now. Like I said, focus on creating order and cleanliness. I think a lot of us with Scorpio sun, Virgo moon, balsamic moon phase, I think a lot of us this weekend are going to feel a call around wanting to let go of things, get rid of things, find cleanliness and order. It's not that cleaning your physical abode fixes everything, but it does support you in getting into a more clear head in order to solve one thing at a time. And so the Virgo moon will sextile the Scorpio sun at 4:54 p.m. So a lot of us could feel inclined to want to wrap up work projects. There could be a nudge to want to find some cleanliness and order within the home. There could be a desire to want to show up for your own routines and rituals. Getting a nice run in, doing a face mask, doing like a whitening kit, like those acts of maintaining yourself where it's like, okay, big picture of my life, I don't know where things are going, but at least I know step by step, moment by moment, I'm taking care of myself. Mind, body, soul. I'm showing up for these small actions that signal to myself that wherever it is that I'm going there with a great skincare routine. And a great fitness routine and a clean home and a clean car. Like, these small things really can impact our experience of the big things of our world. On Sunday, October 27th, the moon continues on in Virgo all day long. And so if you're not feeling inspired to clean, you may feel inspired to get out in nature or to do something that tomorrow you will thank you for, or to be of service in some way, to show up for your physical vessel, to meal prep or something of that nature. here. I will highlight that on Sunday morning, we do have a mutable T-square. So the Virgo moon will square Venus in Sagittarius, which could be this conflict around wanting to show up for what is, healthy or what is routine versus wanting to adventure. And the Virgo moon will oppose Saturn, which can represent feeling very weighted down by our responsibilities. And essentially with this mutable T-square, you could just feel a little all over the place, a little distracted. You could feel like a lot of different things are pulling your energy in many different directions. You could feel this pressure around, it's my day off and I feel like I should go for a hike, but I should also clean out the fridge and I should also do this. Like you could be pulled in so many different directions, and then you just have like guilt and overwhelm because you feel like you're not maximizing your time. Like that could be alive within you. And again, Virgo energy could be quite perfectionistic energy, and it's important to free yourself from the shackles of perfectionism around there's no perfect way for you to spend your Sunday. Like be gentle with yourself if you're beating yourself up around I should have been more productive or things of that nature. But also when it comes to work projects or empowerment, it's really acknowledging that momentum and moving in a direction is better than waiting for that elusive perfect moment when you feel like it's going to be perfect and you're going to be good at it right away. It's better to build momentum and to learn from your mistakes, even if they're imperfect, rather than keeping yourself captive by your demands of perfection that you are asking of yourself. This could be an energy with this mutable T-square where there's something that your intuition is guiding you towards, but you're like, well, I won't be good at it, or what if I mess up, or what if I fail, or something of that nature that's keeping you from not just what it is that you can create, but who it is that you could be should you dare take a chance, should you dare fail and flop and mess up, but keep going. And I highlight that particularly because tomorrow, so Monday, we'll talk about it in next week's Magic Monday, but tomorrow we have Mars in Cancer, trine Neptune in Pisces. So again, there's a reason why you are passionate about the things you're passionate about. There's a reason why you're magnetized by the things that you are magnetized by. There's a reason why you are motivated to do the things that you are motivated to do. And that is the way that the universe is speaking to you. It's so cute that we as humans are all passionate about such different things. And a lot of times it could be clues that the universe is dropping in around new soulful directions for us to expand within. And you never know where it's going to go. Maybe you'll make a business out of it. Maybe it's just meant to be something that you do for 6 months and then you get bored and do a different hobby. But it could lead you to the next step and the next step. And you deny yourself when you're waiting for this perfect moment to start or to try something new. You never know where following your passions will take you. So release yourself from this notion that it needs to be perfect for you to show up at all. My loves, that is our week. The Magic Monday mantra of the week is, I show up for my higher self. Your higher self needs you right now. Your higher self needs you to care about this reality right now. And I say that because Pluto energy can sometimes plunge us into this world that feels very existential, very what's the point? Everything's falling apart anyway. And your higher self wants you so deeply to care about this experience, to care about who it is that you can evolve into, who it is that you can transform into becoming. And it won't be for people who you used to go to high school with. It won't be for people in your social network who you don't even really know that well. It'll be for yourself. It'll be to soak up every bit of learning and wisdom that you could possibly gain in this lifetime. Your higher self needs you to care enough about your world that you are willing to sometimes go through seasons of your life of challenges, of hurdles, of discomfort, right? Stepping out of our comfort zone. To know that it's worth it to sometimes move through seasons of our life that are a little bit more extreme, right? To move through the winters of our life to get to the summers. Like Scorpio's around the extremes. And oftentimes we can exist in this kind of like lukewarm in between of seasons, right? Where it's like, I'm not particularly thriving or at my best, but I'm not at my worst. And I fear so deeply being cold or being in a season where I'm not totally comfortable that I'd rather keep things lukewarm, even though I'm not enlivened and charged up in this particular season. We could play it safe or want to play it safe rather than fear the extremes around needing to go through contrast, discomfort in order to get to these peak moments within this experience. And we need those extremes. You know, I saw a TikTok the other day that was saying sunshine all the time creates a desert. We could just want the highs of this experience, the joys, those peak moments. But again, that's not sustainable all of the time. It takes the differences of seasons in order to nourish ourselves, for us to appreciate the sunshine, for us to appreciate those highs or those peaks within this experience. And if you're keeping yourself in your comfort zone, even if it's neither here nor there, neither particularly inspired and lit up and charged up and radiant, but also not in despair, right? And it's better to be here than it is to be there. There could be an energy around not being able to see how good it can get. And so even just making your aim around like, universe, show me how good it can get, and show me that I can walk through extremes within this world, or transformative experiences, or experiences that aren't the most comfortable. And that makes, when I get to the seasons of my life that are deeply celebratory and deeply accomplished and deeply sunny, it makes it so much sweeter, because you've walked through the canyon of the unknown. You've conquered your fears. You have worked that muscle of discipline to keep showing up for yourself, to believe that you can be and embody your higher self. Your higher self. And again, I just feel like with Mars trine Neptune building towards the end of the week, it's really following where it is that we feel guided and inspired. It's not for nothing. It is for a reason. There are no coincidences. It's Scorpio season. So my loves, if you made it to the end of your forecast, go ahead and comment below the scorpion emoji, or use the word scorpion within a sentence. I gotta admit, I felt so naked this video, not having a cup of coffee here. I know I'm pretty lazy not going to make a different cup of coffee, but when a fly just dives into your coffee right before you start filming, right after you thought, I wish that fly would leave me alone, I just took it from a sign from the universe around, okay, maybe just no coffee today. And also I'm gonna be mindful of what I think of this week for the sake of flies everywhere. So I'd like to thank Keen again for sponsoring this week's Magic Monday. Reminder that you can get your first 5-minute reading for just $1 if you use my link, which is trykeen.com/comet. So thank you so much, Keen, for working with me once again. I'm so excited for the readings that my viewers will get. Let me know in the comments if you learned anything insightful from yours. My Instagram handle is @Haley Comet Astrology. My TikTok is the same. I would so love to connect with you over there. And until we meet again, drink lots of water and stay healthy.